Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Hey, Camila. Let me make sure. Is Nina here? See.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi.
Oh.
Nessa's having trouble getting in.
Okay.
You can hear me too, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Mike, I'm just going to stop the sharing screen with the PowerPoint. That's what I'm going to do briefly.
Say again.
I'm just going to test out that the screen sharing is working.
Okay.
Alice, I love your hat.
Thank you. Actually, I just got this from Liberia, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to showcase this.
Wow, it's so cool.
Thank you.
Okay. Looks like the slides work. Can everyone see that on their end too?
Yep.
Okay, great.
It looks like I'm trying to get more light behind me. That's all right. Sorry.
Nina. Nessa's still having technical difficulties with getting in. Can you cover for her? Are you ready to cover for her in case she's having issues?
Yeah, let me just open her notes.
All right. I don't know why that's happening. There she is.
Hey, Julius, how you doing?
Oh, I hear somebody.
Hey, it's
Can
Camilo.
anybody-
How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
We can hear you.
Oh, hallelujah.
We made it.
Thank you. I want to throw this thing away. It's just driving me nuts. Jesus Christ. I can hear everybody, but nobody can hear me. Now I'm alive. And that's
Hi, Julia.
hello. I heard them talking about your hat and your travel to Liberia and all of that.
Good. You didn't miss anything.
Yeah, I was saying something. Nobody could hear me. Why? I think I can blame Mike on that. Somebody got blamed.
Oh, my ear.
Sorry, I'm troubleshooting something real quick.
Well, I'm glad that everybody can hear me, so that's great.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Nina, should we get started?
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. It's great to be with you. We are very excited to tell you about this amazing pilot project that is happening now in Rhode Island, to introduce you to the project partners and to answer your questions. While the Rhode Island Food Policy Council is acting as the moderator of this presentation, the work is really being presented to you by the people who are doing it. And as a Food Policy Council, we really exist for the communities we serve. The Rhode Island Food Policy Council works to create a more just and resilient food system in Rhode Island. Our mission is to forward an equitable, accessible, economically vibrant, and environmentally sustainable food system. We do our work through developing partnerships, implementing high-impact pilots and programs, and advocating for good food policy. This project is one way that we fulfill our mission. We also assist the state in running a grant program for small and beginning farmers and fishermen, working to build large-scale infrastructure that can support many small sector food businesses, and cultivating community-level food system understanding and community food justice action plans. We were established in 2011 and currently have 20 council members and 4 staff. So today we'll be talking about a new pilot program, one that represents a model of mutual aid, connecting Rhode Island's commercial seafood sector and diverse communities across the state. This work started over the summer as we saw our commercial seafood sector suffering from restaurant shutdowns and our state's rate of food security skyrocketed. It was initially enabled by some COVID-19 emergency response funding that the council received. That is a little bit of the why, but the how is the most critical piece. This work started because there was a strong network of partners in place before the crisis hit, a network that included food sector businesses, trade organizations, food justice advocates, funders, and others. I'm excited for you to hear today from these partners and to learn about both their struggles and their traditions, and to see how this true partnership has brought together local supply and local demand to the benefit of all. As we get started, please write down your questions, as we will have a lot of opportunity for you to interact with the speakers, even though we cannot be together in person today. So our first speaker today will be Alice Howard from Sunrise Forever. Then we'll hear from Camilo Viveros from the George Wiley Center, and then Julius Kolawale from the African Alliance of Rhode Island. Their presentations will be followed by comments from Rhode Island Food Policy Council staff Mike Rolls and Shay Rooney from the Commercial Fisheries Center of Rhode Island. And this is our first presentation together, so we feel we are at the beginning of our work. Without further ado, I'm happy to ask Alice Howard to speak now.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Hello,
We
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry. I was like, am I mute? So my name is Alice Howard. I'm the founder and executive director of Sunrise Forever Incorporated. Sunrise Forever was launched in 2016. It's incorporated as a nonprofit, a non-governmental, non-profit 501c3 organization under the laws of the state of Rhode Island. Over the last 3 years, other than last year, 2020, Sunrise has worked to enrich the educational experience for children in Liberia and Ghana, West, by providing 2,150 backpacks and thousands of school supplies to 25 schools in Liberia and 2 schools in Ghana, Accra, Ghana. Sunrise Forever, collaborating with other nonprofits and building strong rapports with relevant organizations in the state of Rhode Island. We serve Liberians and other. So in the state of Rhode Island, I'm humbled and it's a pleasure to be here sharing with all of you. We'll be talking a little bit on who we are as a community, our relationship with seed food, and why this work is important for us. So, yeah, I'm here. So should I just go ahead?
Yes, that would be great. Thanks, Alice.
Okay, good. Yes. See, I was just telling the folks out there, I came prepared to showcase something from Liberia. I'm just going to start my conversation or presentation, if you will, with a short historical background about the relationship between Liberia and the United States. That the slide with the map of Liberia. Okay. The Republic of Liberia, a country on the West African coast. The first free American slaves established the small West African country Liberia as a modern nation in 1840. The United States established diplomatic relations with Liberia in 1864. That's 17 years after independence from the American colonization, which was the organization that resettled free African Americans and free slaves in. Fast forward, in 1990, there was a civil war in Liberia which lasted for 14 years. As a result, thousands of Liberians fled the country in search of safety and better lives. According to the Rhode Island College professor Khalid Sarzer, as of 2012, there are about 15,000 Liberians in the state of Rhode Island. Well, in Liberia, fish is a staple ingredient for nearly every meal. Commercial fishing, important economic, social, and cultural activity. Freshwater fish and seafood are constantly available in the markets and they are affordable. Well, most Liberians in Rhode Island spend a lot of money to purchase food and other ingredients to prepare their daily meals. Like many other organizations and communities, the impact of COVID-19 created an leaving vast amount of Rhode Islanders, especially without the means to feed their families. The outbreak of COVID devastated Rhode Island's economy. Many people were furloughed or they work permanently. Despite COVID, Sunrise has been working and it made 2020 very challenging. But despite that, we've been able to continue building community relationships, creating awareness and collaboration with other nonprofits and partners both statewide and out of state. So When I was contacted and asked if I knew people who like fish, I was like, what? Absolutely. In our community, there's of names of people who need fish. We have families, even those who were food prior to the pandemic are struggling to put food on their tables. Currently, we serve about 300 individuals on a weekly basis. Beneficiaries are constantly expressing their gratitude for the fish program, which is helping them save some money and providing protein. We get additional names every week. As people receive fish, they tell others, they contact us, and we simply add the names on the list prior to the next distribution date. And this process has been working. This project has been very beneficial to struggling families across the state. We believe that there is a need for more collaboration to expand this project. We have named our fish project Sunrise Fields with Fish. So we'd like to thank this conference, the Rhode Island Food Policy Council for this work, who is on the table of struggling families and beyond. We are also grateful to Fred Terra and the commercial fisheries and his team and the other partners for making this whole fish available to people in our community. Our people are happy and hope that this can be a long-term program. I thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name's Camilo Viveris. I'm here in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and we're with the George Wiley Center. We're turning 40 this year, actually. We started in 1981, and George Wiley was a welfare rights activist. He was actually co-founder of the National Welfare Rights Organization, and he was also a Warwick resident here. So when he passed away in his 40s, people came together to continue to work for racial and economic justice. And for the first 12 years of our organizing, we focused on expanding universal breakfast programs across the state. So this is a little pamphlet that we distributed. It took about 12 years to do that. And then we've pivoted to focus on energy access, so lowering utility bills for low-income Rhode Islanders. We've been able to decrease the number of utility shutoffs by 13,000 households. So that's almost the size of a small city in like Woonsocket, right? So we've worked on issues like unemployment, discrimination. We're a membership-based organization, so we're constantly trying to build our membership and taking issues that people are struggling with and connecting them with the policies that really are responsible for injustice in our communities. So prior to the pandemic, we already had a relationship with Food Not Bombs, which is a mutual aid organization that would pick up food that was donated from farms in our community, and they would deliver it to our members. So we delivered to about 50 people every week. And then during the pandemic, it really volunteers, Food Not Bombs greatly expanded. A lot of food from farms ended up coming to us, and we went from 50 to more like 120, 150 households. But it wasn't until the Food Policy Council connected with us that we were able to add protein to that and expand to include local seafood. And people have really appreciated it. It's been able to allow us to serve more of our community, especially immigrants, folks from the Caribbean, people from the South that were used to eating food as part of our diets. So you'll see on the slide here a couple of the action that we did actually around expanding, decreasing the number of pages for SNAP applications, right? So that's that sign that folks are holding up in the middle says April Fools, right? And right now the application for SNAP is about it was 23 pages, and we pushed for years and years to lower it, make it easier for people to have access to SNAP assistance. And it was getting slowed down with the bureaucracy. So we took action on April Fools, and we were able to get that application decreased for seniors to 11 pages instead of 23. So it's always been part of our organizing to challenge energy and food insecurity, and this partnership has really helped us expand our work and meet the needs of more people. And most importantly, when we connect folks to this food, that we get to talk to people about the work that's involved, and connect people with the fishing industry and the workers behind it. And we're able to tell people about actions they can take that help people stay in their homes, decrease energy costs, right? So when we're distributing this, we're also educating people about things like, unemployment assistance and deadlines, and ways that people can speak out to make sure that they're part of the process, right? And that we're looking at the policies and systems that impact us all. So thank you so much from the George Wiley Center. We have about 6,000 people on our database list, and we come into contact with thousands of people through referrals. But really, our ability to assist and organize with others is really dependent on these types of partnerships. And I want to thank the Food Policy Institute, Shay and Fred, and especially Mike Rolls, who had been coming to this work from economic justice work prior to this. And it's those relationships that really help us figure out how we can address the needs in our community. So thank you so much for all your work.
Thank you so much, Camilo, and to Alice. When I think about the title of this conversation today, All Hands on Deck, it's just a fitting title, such a fitting title. And I'm just going to give you a quick summary of what we do. The name of the organization is African Alliance of Rhode Island. We've been in business since 2004. We grow many African vegetables, in fact, about 8 of them. We sell, we're in 3 different farmers markets and more to come. We have stepped up our activities in that area to include a farm. We've also focused on educating our community through Grow Your Own Food. We have about 19 people who participate in Grow Your Own Food within that community of growing things. We have another initiative we call Food Voices, where members of the community are brought together to share thoughts and about the food in our community. And we have Food is Medicine. It's another piece, a part of our program. We've been doing this since 2009. And we are happy at where we are today. If you can move the slide forward, I want to show one of the things we grow. I know I have limited time. So in this picture, you will notice a couple of items. One of them is called bitter ball, also known as garden egg. We grow a lot of that. We've been selling that since 2012. We've also made some product of it, funded through USDA, and we're in the market selling a lot of that. The current project is, you can see the okra flour. We have a new project, new initiative, which began with Brown University student in 2015. We're going to scale up on that this year. We have about 14 farmers who grow about half an acre or a quarter of an acre, and that's been going on. So in that area, we've been very successful. We still have a lot of work to do, and there are challenges, and we are stepping onto it little by little and moving forward. Talking about fish, talking about seafood, our journey in this area began about 5-6 years ago when I felt that our community should have access to seafood, because in this state of Rhode Island, there are 40 African countries represented, from the Cape Verdeans, from Egypt to South Africa. We are here. We obey the law, we follow the process, we do our bit, and we bring a lot to the state. Fish, seafood is one of them. And when we began to look for this opportunity to bring into the farmers market, bring to the community, we ran into a lot of roadblocks. So when I said the title today, All Hands on Deck, is informing us how we can move forward despite all the challenges in the past. And I always say this, and I say quickly, that many communities in Rhode Island are referred to as food desert. Well, Rhode Island is also known as Ocean State. I'm always asking, why can't we bring the ocean to the desert? Bring seafood to us. Let's be part of this economy. It has been a challenge, and there's another slide, I think it's buried in so many slides in there, where in 2016, in partnership with Coastal Resources, they conducted a study to establish and validate that, yes, we, the immigrants, eat a ton of seafood. And it's so then, and it's so today. Alice validated that, Camilo validated that. So what this has done for us is open that gate. And we are looking at how we can take advantage of it. If I can just step back a little bit, and the speakers before me spoke to the challenges of COVID-19. It is devastating. There's no other way to sugarcoat it. It is devastating. My community of African population are still not yet over it. People are talking about moving forward. We are not there yet. A few months ago, we were lucky to get funded. We got some funding to support food, rental, prescription, and utilities. We were able to serve 174 families. That funding is expired. Then the fish came in, and the community was so happy. Again, I don't want to repeat what some of the things that Alice has already talked about. If I can just add one quick thing before I stop, is that families are saying to me, now say to me, we don't have to eat chicken every day, now we can eat fish. I think that's a blessing to Policy Council, the seafood industry, to Mike, and every one of you who have been involved in this. They cannot thank you enough, okay? And we are really grateful on this. We are looking at next steps. We are hoping for next steps. As of yesterday, I have 3 people who are interested in those next steps, how we can keep this door wide open and we can become part of the entrepreneurship. Who benefits? The seafood industry benefits because they have new customers. Our community benefits. Why? Because we get to eat seafood. Oh, by the way, there was another thing we did in the past. We did clam harvesting 2 years in a row. It was fascinating. I mean, we were so excited. There were about 15 of us. We were so excited. But we ran into some other issue. I won't get into those issues today. Okay. But yes, we're looking forward to the next steps, how we can become, not just consume, but integral component of the economy of seafood in the ocean states. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Julius. It's been a thrill working with you all. My name is Mike Rolls, and I'm the Senior Program Associate for Outreach with the Food Policy Council. And I do want to share a little bit about the genesis of this program that has brought us together. The main point that I do want to get across is that it's really the existing relationships and the new relationships that have been built through this program that have really led to its major success. And it's the existing relationships at the beginning of this program early on that are the reason why we were able to jumpstart this pilot so quickly. So the Commercial Fishery Center of Rhode Island and the Rhode Island Food Policy Council have been working together as partners on different issues for a while. I actually had already been working with the Commercial Fishery Center during half of the week on a variety of initiatives at the beginning of last year. And it wasn't until June that I joined the Food Policy Council as the COVID response coordinator. And within this scope, we were modeling out a few pilot projects that would increase food access for Rhode Islanders who continue to struggle during the pandemic. And, one challenge that we identified was the economic hit to the local commercial fishing community. The seafood market was hit hard, and the caught fish had nowhere to go. And meanwhile, just as it is everywhere around this country and around the globe, Rhode Island's immigrant and indigenous communities have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. And given that there's an abundance of fish right off of our shores and that these communities have a cultural connection to the seafood, particularly around whole fish, it was clear that connecting these communities through this type of a pilot program was a smart path forward. So at the very beginning, I was able to connect with Julius, who already had an existing partnership with the Food Policy Council and who I had known from previous work. And in fact, Julius was actually one of the original co-founders of the council. And we agreed, and as Julius and Camilo and Alice have spoken, we all agreed on the importance of getting the fish delivered to members of their respective organizations. In Julius's case, the African Alliance of Rhode Island, and we quickly moved to arrange, a first delivery. By mid-August, we were able to utilize some of the funding that was being used to fund my part of the work and my position to buy fish during the first few weeks. The Commercial Fishery Center was able to agree on a price for scup, also known as porgy in some other regions of the country, and they arranged a price with one of the local seafood dealers and made the arrangement to buy an initial 65 pounds of scup during the first week. The one problem that we had was figuring out how to get the fish delivered from one point to the next. So I actually just ended up throwing a cooler into my Toyota. I drove down to the Port of Galilee, which is, if you look at the map on that slide there, it's that blue point at the very bottom half of the map. And I picked up the fish myself in the cooler. One thing that folks on this call really need to understand with Rhode Island and Rhode Islanders themselves, given our tiny size, is that residents here have the convenience of not needing to drive very far for work or do any of the activities that one might do on a regular basis. So when you tell a Rhode Islander that you need to drive 45 minutes to move fish that's 37 miles away, that is basically a day trip to any Rhode Islander. That's not the case in any other state except Rhode Island, really. So finding a driver was a challenge, and that's why I just took it upon myself to drive down for those first few weeks. But by week 3, the George Wiley Center, led by Camilo, became the second organization to receive fish, picking up 200 pounds of fish. I actually met Camilo and a few of his volunteers at the port for those first couple of pickups, and by October, they were actually running their own pickups at the docks. From there, the program really has spread like wildfire. We quickly learned that we had only found the tip of the iceberg in terms of need for this program. And so I'm going to actually hand it off to Shay, who's going to share a little bit about how we've been able to scale up the program ever since.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Awesome. Okay. So thanks, Mike. My name is Shay Rooney, and I'm Assistant Director with the Commercial Fisheries Center of Rhode Island. And I'm excited to give an overview about how this pilot program has evolved and expanded. But first, I think it's important to give some background and context about the Rhode Island commercial fishing industry and the Commercial Fisheries Center of Rhode Island and some of the work that we do. So the Commercial Fisheries Center, we're a small nonprofit, and we're located in Kingston, Rhode Island, right by the University of Rhode Island. And we represent various fishing associations throughout the state, including associations that encompass the different ports, the different gear types, and the different fisheries found in the state. And our work mainly focuses on supporting and advocating for Rhode Island's commercial fishing industry and the entire fishing community itself, and to preserve and build the industry going into the future. Next slide. Okay. So the seafood industry here plays a really important economic role in our state's economy. So a study done by the University of Rhode Island and the Commercial Fisheries Research Foundation, they evaluated the total economic impact of the seafood industry for the year of 2016. And they found that it generated over 4,000 jobs and had a total economic output of over $419 million. So you can see how this industry is a really critical piece in the state's economy here. Next slide, please. Awesome. And so there are numerous ports throughout the state. Mike showed you Point Judith, which is one of the major ones, right in Narragansett. Some of the other ones include North Kingstown and Newport. And these ports are very diverse in the terms of the species that they land. They depend on a wide range of different species. And some of the primary species and some of those higher value species landed here include squid, summer flounder, lobster, scallops, and also yellowtail flounder. Those are just a few, but then there's a whole nother wide range of species that the markets aren't as strong for, and the prices are a little bit lower, but they're vastly abundant. So we can consider these underutilized species, and those can include things such as scup, hake, or whiting. Rhode Island is also home to a large recreational fishing fleet and also a seasonal longline fishery for tuna. So you can see that it's super diverse, even within this very small state. Next slide, please. Thank you. So in the spring, when the pandemic first hit, like Mike said, the fishing and the seafood industry were hit really hard. As states were implementing lockdowns and the restaurants were closing their doors or reducing their capacities, there was a significant reduction in the markets and the demand for seafood. And because of this, the prices for different seafood products dropped significantly. And even some of the local fish dealers were only taking in a limited quantity of product just to ensure that they'd be able to move it. So for some vessels during this time, it wasn't even worth going out. They'd have to stay tied to the docks. And then for other vessels and other seafood businesses, they had to find ways to pivot their business models and find untraditional markets. But around this time is when we began collaborating at the Commercial Fisheries Center with the Rhode Island Food Policy Council and also another local nonprofit called Eating with the Ecosystem. And we set out to try and explore ways to incorporate seafood into the emergency food system. And what we were hoping to do was develop a pilot program with that double benefit of, one, reaching the food insecure populations within the state, and also at the same time to support the fishing industry by helping to build on markets for some of these underutilized species, and to provide some type of return for the seafood product to the fishermen. So that brings us back to the whole fish donations pilot program that Mike had introduced. And Nina, can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. And like Mike mentioned, we definitely started out small. We quickly started to expand both in the number of organizations that we were working with and in terms of the quantity of seafood that we were distributing each week. So right now we're currently working with a total of 6 partner organizations and 9 fishermen and fish dealers. And over 28,000 pounds of seafood has been distributed to these different organizations. And we estimate that this equates to about 18,800 meals. And then this figure on the slide here, this shows how the program has evolved and shows how many pounds have been distributed week to week. And you'll see some of the peaks and the dips in the total quantity provided. And the reason for that is being some weeks based on like availability. There's some contributing factors, things like weather that had affected the availability of species available and quantities available. So uncontrollable factors like mostly weather sometimes impeded getting fish to those groups. Next slide, Nina. Thank you. And these are some of the species that we've mainly been working with for the pilot. And those include scup, whiting, hake, topnet clams, and also mackerel. And like I said before, these are some of these underutilized species and that are largely available. So seem to work out really well. Next slide. Oh, and you can see some awesome pictures here on the right of some of the donations that we did. And you can go to the next slide, Nina. So this slide here is meant to show the process of how everything works on a week-to-week basis. So first, representatives from each of the community-based organizations, they sign up the families among their communities that are interested in receiving whole fish. Next, the CFRAE staff, we connect with each of the organizations and we determine what the need is for that week, what quantity would work for them, preferred species, and also the preferred pickup day and time for that week. Next, we communicate with the fishermen and the fish dealers, and we determine what's available for species and quantity. And also we determine those prices for the product. Then we reserve what's available, and we do this to meet the organization's needs as best as possible. Then on the day of pickup, a designated driver from each of the organizations, they come and pick up the fish in the port, and they drive to a central meeting location, and their volunteers help divide and bag and deliver the fish to the families. And also some families will come and meet at this central point too and pick up their fish there rather than being delivered. So that is the week-to-week process, and we do this with each of the organizations. And so far, the program has been going extremely well. It's really awesome and rewarding, and we're hoping to continue this program into the future and hopefully expand on it as well. And I'm happy to answer any other questions at the end, but for now, I'm going to hand it over back to Mike.
Thanks, Shay. So thank you, Nina. Julius kind of gave a preview in terms of the next steps that the program partners have been considering in terms of, what opportunities lie ahead and how can we improve the program. I do want to invite Julius to kind of help break down the first 2 bullets there very briefly in terms of, what connecting with farmers and creating those economic and entrepreneurial opportunities that he spoke of. And then Alice will be able to speak to those bottom 2 bullets there. So Julius, with a couple minutes, can you break down and elaborate on those 2 bullets there?
Yes, I can. even though most of you did not open up and list the name of the community organizations benefiting from this. Part of the lessons that we learned during the data collection in 2015 was that there are many Latinos who participated in the survey, and also many of them talk about what their experiences they bring to the seafood industry, from selling, going fishing, and how they are looking forward to being part of. I think it's so important. We try our best. In fact, I remember very well there are some fishermen, 2 women in particular, who lend their voice, their knowledge to how we can do this. I do remember very well there's a gentleman, a fisherman, a friend, who volunteered to help us get fish to the market, but didn't work out. I showed up there one day and the man said, "Julius, don't come back. Don't." So don't come back. And I find out the reasons why, but you don't give up. The reasons I'm thinking I do know this within the African community, how much fish we consume. I do know many of them come with a knowledge of roasting chicken, smoked fish. So not just the fresh one, without sales in the market, they also have the knowledge and the skills to roast and to smoke and all of that. In fact, I remember talking to another agency asking if there's a way we can bring this underground economy to the main economy. But that didn't get too far. It was shut down. But we are here today. And I'm so happy about that. Already, as I said, there is a group in the African American community. There is 2 in the African community that I'm talking with who are interested, who are asking questions. My last word to the last person I spoke to about this is, I'm going to invite Mike so you can ask further questions and understand how this will benefit the community, will benefit the fishermen, and in my opinion, brings the community closer. Food by itself is a bridge. For everyone on this and listening, wherever you may be, when you invite people to your home, your medium of friendship or fellowship is food. Fish, seafood by itself is wonderful. We are still yet to learn more about clam and a whole lot of other squid and things like that. But every one of us that participated in the clam harvesting was an experience, something we've never done before. Oh boy, we couldn't get off talking about it. It was an experience, okay? It was the first time I ever ate a raw clam, yeah, until you put lime on it and you let it go. Boy, was it difficult. Okay, so the opportunity is tremendous. The community, I believe, is ready. We're gonna need some training. We need to take this to the next level. And most importantly, many of our activities in the food and the growing and the selling and all of that fit into recipes. We have recipes, quite a lot of recipes we have that fish just fit in. So it's not just the chicken, it's not just the turkey. Now we can talk about fish, different kind of fish. We can learn more about it. It's good for us, it's good for the community, it's good for the fishermen. I think it's a win-win for everybody. But again, we're gonna need some assistance moving this forward, okay? I think, and I'm going to beg a little bit on what I'm gonna say. I will go further to say, I do know that 3 or 3.5 out of every 5 African is by itself an entrepreneur. We buy, we sell, we interact, we relate. We are about commerce. So the opportunity, this door just opened, and we are willing to walk into it.
Julius. Alice, can you talk a little bit more about, the kind of the conversations around increasing access to certain equipment for scaling up and ensuring food safety, and some of the ideas around recipe sharing and cooking strategies as well?
Right. So thank you, Michael, and thanks, Julius. You've said it well. I'll just some things. So in terms of how do we map the missing infrastructure for scaling up, right, and ensuring food safety, I will say, first of all, I believe partnership is key. Working with the farmers markets and other relevant businesses and organizations, additional ingredients to help cook that goes along with the fish, because we need other things to make. And also maybe getting supplies to properly package the fish, more coolers, safety, if I will add face masks, perhaps plastic gowns for use during the distribution at the various sites, or even bigger, maybe funding to secure a van for easy distribution to our communities. So those are ways we could wrap up and ensure the fish is safe. And for cooking strategies, one of the things we could do, right? I was thinking it was community Facebook account to share recipes and cooking tips and different methods. Maybe get a recipe book, because Julius already alluded to that. This can be done maybe during cooking classes where people learn different methods and different tips how to prepare. Those are strategies we use to be able to easily share our recipes and different tips of how we prepare.
Awesome. Thank you, Alice.
Cooking classes.
We're going to jump to questions. So right now, I do want to invite, audience members to type their questions if you have any in the chat. I do have some questions that I'll facilitate to the panel as well. So, in case anybody has any questions, do put them in the chat. But for now, I'm going to turn a question to Alice first. Alice, what has been the impact of this program on the people receiving the fish? Can you share a few stories?
Sure. So that's a very great question. Thank you. Can we just go back to the second slide on my stuff? First of all, this right is putting food on the tables of suffering families due to the effect of the epidemic. It's also providing nutrition for families, as fish is very common, and it is one of the main ingredients in the African meat. And economically, I would say it has decreased, or it is decreasing the stress of alternating spending between food and other basic needs. It's also reducing the cost of food shopping and redirecting the difference to other expenses for the families. And things I have come to realize, creating this community of care and sense of belonging, that being our brothers keepers, especially during difficult times. So on the overall, is very positive, is impacting our community positively. We have some testimonials from beneficiaries, and we have one of those slides. They are saying thank you to, right, we have those from a couple of our beneficiaries who are very excited, and they are very thankful for this project. So yeah, it's having a very
Awesome.
positive impact on
Camille, how did the distribution of fish fit into that food distribution? You talked a little bit about that, but I think you and I had a conversation about how it's been a good like protein source and how it's sort of kind of complemented other protein sources. And I do have a follow-up question to that.
Sure. So, I mean, as I said, we were doing food from farms, but we really, didn't have a local source of protein until the fish started arriving. And then, part of the George Wiley Center has been about decreasing the stigma of poverty, right? And a lot of times, folks who are struggling, whether they need financial assistance are blame themselves, are depressed, right, or feel shame. So the fish actually was a point of excitement, right? We would distribute food, but the number of people that just saw us unloading the fish and started getting excited people from just in our block alone. Next door to us, we have a storefront that's Cape Verdean. We have a karate studio that's Muslim American. We have a Latino congregation. And, those organizations, they didn't with us, but when they saw the fish coming, within those communities, like folks that were in need, new people came and people spread throughout their networks, exchanged stories about it built a village type of feel where people shared stories about when they lived in different areas of the world where it was normal to have a fish peddler or somebody come down the street, right, where people subsistence fishing, and it helps shift that relationship to food, right, where a lot of times if you're second generation, your kids might know more about what the brand of a McDonald's or something, right, than like know about the traditions of cooking certain fish. So helping to be part of that was transformative too and nutritious at the same time.
That's awesome. You kind of spoke to it, but my follow-up to that was how is this distribution sort of building new or strengthening existing relationships? Do you have anything to add to that, or?
Well, I mean, those, we're in a storefront block, and those groups are all in their own silos, right? Little storefronts, and fish helped bring folks together and exchange and meet each other, and so it really helped provide. And the fact that it was a pandemic and we distribute the fish on the sidewalk, it just was natural advertisement, and then people were we're surprised that this food was available, and it was awesome to be able to tell people the names of the boats that they came off of it, and be able to explain that over and over again, that this is a partnership, and the generosity of the workers and organizations like the Food Policy Institute and the commercial fisheries, like how it all happened. And so yeah, it's been transformative, and we're excited. We know for everyone that knows about what we're doing, there's many more people, right, that would be just as excited about benefiting from this program. So I see that there's a lot of room for expansion if y'all can get more support, to help build on what you've been doing.
Thanks. Julius, what are some ways that that some of the people are preparing the fish?
Oh, I start with smoked fish. Those who do smoked fish also do smoked chicken, do smoke a few other things, which extend the life of the fish, because then you can store it. They also store it fresh as it is. Generally, it varies. Some like to steam, some like to oven it, some like to just clean and just put it in a sauce. Generally, there is what we call, maybe the only person who will get this will be Alice. There's what we call pepper soup. Okay, fish pepper soup. One day I will invite Mike to fish pepper soup. It may be the last time he says hello to me, but I'm going to try. Okay, so it varies. Now, when we think about how we cook fish or the recipes, it brings culture into the conversation. It brings art into the conversation. And this is what the Africans bring to this project. You can go from one side of Liberia to the northern part of Liberia, from southern Nigeria to the northern, and you will have a menu of different cultural ways of cooking fish, of preparing the dish. The common theme out of that is it's delicious. If you are familiar with a city called Lagos, Nigeria, the ocean is right there. Oh, I promised myself not to say this, but now I get myself into it. In the 60s, I was a fisheries clerk for 5 years. Okay, from fish pond to go on the sea to the trawlers. I was in charge of all of that. So fish is part of my growing up, and especially on Sunday, when you make a special soup and you get your fish to go, you think you die, you're going to heaven. Okay, except you wake up the next day to say, oh, damn, I'm still here. I'm still here. So, yes. I also believe in some part of Nigeria, there is a celebration to certain fishing activities. Okay, and I believe in some part of Nigeria, one of the ways you bring your little baby to life is you, I don't remember how many days old, when you let them swim. And it tells you what is going on with the baby. All right. So there is all of these characteristics that is of Africans, because we are just many. What can I say? We are just many. There is a book published by African Alliance. It's about 6 years old, Cooking with Africans, with different menu and fish and all of that. We also have that published. We think it needs to be revised. Okay. I also like to make one other quick comment while I'm on the cooking. ARI until COVID-19 showed up, we stopped doing cooking demonstration. We have not been able to bring fish into that cooking demonstration. We are hoping we will be able to do so. But the lesson I learned from cooking demonstration, which we began in 2014, was there are people in my community who are really hungry. They don't ask questions. You do that demonstration, you serve it, it's gone. So having access to this fish, seafood, I think has brought a different smile to the community. We'll be delighted to share some of the recipes in future, if that's important to everybody. We kind of like to protect our, anyway, never mind about the protection. Okay, I'm gonna stop there.
Thanks, Julius. We're coming upon 5 o'clock here in the Ocean State, but I did want to see if Shay can spend about 30 seconds sharing a little bit about some of the other pathways of incorporating seafood into the local emergency and supplemental food distribution.
Sure, Mike. Just because we're almost out of time, I'll just briefly touch upon another pilot that we're doing that we're actually just starting out. But one other way we are exploring incorporating seafood into the emergency food system is through a seafood chowder. So far we've done 2 batches of seafood chowder, and that in total has provided an additional 300 more meals. And we, to do this, we partnered with 2 local chefs, and they helped us produce this chowder. And then this was donated to 2 local food pantries. And through these projects, we're also trying to explore other pathways of incorporating seafood into the emergency food system. And another way being frozen fillets or frozen whole fish. But we're working, we're just starting out trying to explore what those pathways are and what is sustainable in the long term.
Thank you, Shay. Thank you, everybody. It's been a privilege to do this. Feel free to reach out to the Food Policy Council in Rhode Island or any of the other panelists here. We're happy to communicate and answer any other questions at another date. But again, thank you again for joining. It's been great to share, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else this leads to. So have a good evening, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.